Hi class, my name is Destiny Arciniega. Although you might have had a few chances to hear from me or see me throughout the semester on Zoom, this is a chance for you to get to know me a little bit more than that. My media essay is going to be about the importance of the involvement of arts in child education, and I chose this because it's something I feel very strongly about. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to experience as much involvement of arts in my education as I would have liked to have had while growing up. And now that I'm a 21-year-old film major in college, I've spent a lot of time wondering what life would have been like if I did consistently have exposure to arts education, and what the reasons for me not to have been able to receive that might have been, along with the effects that it's had on me. When I was in elementary school for kindergarten and first in the Hayward Unified School District, and from 2nd to 4th grade in the San Lorenzo Unified School District, I did get a bit of exposure to the involvement of arts in education, although I'd say it was minimal. In Hayward, we started with classes gathering around and singing along to the book about the old lady who swallowed a fly, and eventually made it to us actually having a music class in San Lorenzo, where we'd sing together, learn how to read music, and play the flute, which we eventually presented to the parents during winter and spring concerts. During my time in San Lorenzo, I was also signed up for Boys and Girls Club, which was the after-school program, and personally, I loved my time there. I had a blast. I felt that there was something really fun about still being at school with your friends, but not really in school anymore, if that makes any sense. Although we did have time to focus on academics, a majority of the time spent there involved a lot of fun activities for us to enjoy and learn from with our friends. One of my favorite things about the after-school program was the way that they gave children a chance to begin making choices for themselves regarding what they wanted to spend their time doing, and giving them a chance to experience a variety of different things. To explain this a bit more, we followed daily routines, but on Wednesdays, all of the staff members would lead different activities that students had a chance to choose from by signing up for them. The activities ranged from things like cooking with Miss Ezzy to gardening with Miss Mona, arts and crafts with Miss Leone, sports with Coach Justin, or video production with Mr. Dennis. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to actually participate in the video production with Mr. Dennis, and I'm honestly not 100% because it's been a while since then, but I do know that is one of two reasons. Either the signups were full because it was limited space, or because my age group wasn't old enough to work with the equipment. I was still really young at that point. Despite not having been able to participate firsthand, I do remember that when they finally presented the project, I was amazed by the fact that my classmates were able to take part in this super cool short film that they came up with. At San Lorenzo, I was also introduced to theater and realized at that point how fascinated I was with the pre-production and preparations that go into any kind of art, whether it's making a video, rehearsing with instruments and scripts to prepare for plays, musicals, or concerts, or working on backdrops, props, and costumes for a big show. It always seemed very movie-like to me, and I've always gravitated towards film and photography. I've just always kind of been quite a character. I've always loved to sing and act. When I was younger, I'd sometimes even make fake advertisement commercials just to practice what it'd be like. Anyways, back to the point. The point is, although it wasn't very long that I got a chance to experience these things at school, the time that I did have was the most exciting and fun time that I would have in school for a while. I've come to the conclusion that the reason for this, after doing a little bit of research, is because of the importance given to what would eventually become the top priority for schools in California, curriculum that focused mostly on the education of math and English. I'll be sharing some information that I found on a website from a school for arts and performance to explain this. The site goes on to explain the way that No Child Left Behind Act that was passed in 2001 put more focus in schools on core subjects like math and reading, and because of that, schools began forwarding more money to the areas that require standardized testing in order to keep those scores high. While schools were focusing on grades and test scores and pushing funds to keep those numbers high, art classes that needed to buy supplies for students were cut, resulting in a drop in art opportunities in schools. Another act that was developed and passed sometime in 2009 was the Common Core Standards Act, which, similar to the No Child Left Behind Act, focused on core subjects that required standardized testing, which doesn't include art classes. This led to many schools' decisions to reroute funding from the arts programs to core subjects like math and English classes, which would eventually bring an end to many art programs. To me, it's very interesting how when I look back now and realize the times that these acts, specifically the Common Core Standards Act, were passed, they lined up perfectly with events in my life in the way that around this time, I transferred back to the Hayward Unified School District, where I spent my 5th grade year and every year after that until I graduated. It was around that time that I began to receive a lot of recognition and awards for my academic achievement in subjects like math, English, and science. I would typically score above average and advanced on my tests, and those memories and achievements were documented by none other than my mom's Facebook page over time. Unfortunately, it was also by that time that I had stopped experiencing the involvement of arts in education. By the time I was in middle school, those core subjects pretty much took over the rest of my school experience. My first year of taking an advanced course was my first year of middle school. I was one of the few 7th graders taking pre-algebra with a majority of 8th graders. Before I knew it, I was in high school, a freshman, taking a math class with seniors, and I finished my time in high school by taking classes like AP Calculus, AP Physics, and AP Literature. I definitely felt like an academically accomplished student, and pretty well-rounded too. I graduated top 15% of my class. I was involved in sports, leadership. I was a senior class homecoming queen, and the few art electives that I had a chance to sign up for, I did. I took piano and photography, and I absolutely loved those, but the core subjects intuitively seemed like a higher priority, and at that point, taking those classes and succeeding was what I expected for myself. It seemed like it was all I knew at this point. Unfortunately, big things happened during my junior and senior year. College applications and admissions. The financial struggles, when it came to be time to apply, we could only afford 3 applications, and I chose my top 3. UC Berkeley, UCLA, and San Diego State University. The only problem? I had no idea what I wanted to study. This was a big decision. I convinced myself that I wanted to be a STEM major since it involved subjects I was advanced in, but I was conflicted because I wasn't sure it was something I might want to dedicate my life to. I ended up trying for something I could potentially get accepted for, maybe business or business management. I wasn't accepted into any, and what first seemed like a huge disappointment and a very discouraging situation. I now believe it was just destiny playing a little game with me. At the time, though, this was not a laughing matter. I began to question all the years of stressing and working hard for success in academics because it didn't seem worth it. Eventually, I started at Berkeley City College, where I spent my first 2 years, undeclared, just choosing classes from a list of transfer prerequisites and hoping to somehow decide what major I wanted to transfer into when the time came. While I started off taking general education courses, I appreciated the variety of subjects to choose from and the ability to be able to create a schedule of what you wanted to spend your time studying. I started off with what seemed most simple: math, English, psychology. I took that in high school and that was really interesting. And it was again in college. And I also started taking different kinds of art classes. Those were very interesting and super exciting. The thing is, though, I find excitement in learning about a lot of things. So I couldn't decide if I wanted to major in psychology, ethnic studies, government, sociology, art. There was just so much to choose from. It wasn't until I was taking classes the final semester before completing the list of transfer prerequisites that I made a few friends from art classes that I enjoyed, and they told me about their multimedia classes that seemed really interesting. I knew I wanted to take them too. That last semester, I also took a college success course, which it's funny, but it's not, because I should have started by taking that class. But anyways, in that class, our final required us to interview someone who had a career that we wanted to pursue. Unfortunately, COVID started up, and it was hard to find lawyers, psychologists, or doctors who were interested in being interviewed by a college student for a class. I got lucky, though. My mom had a coworker whose husband had his own video production company, and she told me that he made a video for a school she used to work at once, and he said he'd be up for the interview. I interviewed him, and it was amazing. It turned out that he was also the director of film for Apple, and during a conversation, I told him about the way that I've always been the kind of person that loved watching home videos, looking at old photo albums, or taking new pictures and videos on vacations and putting those into videos. To me, there's always been something really fascinating and beautiful about being able to record a moment of time, or the representation of it through art, and being able to look at it over time to see how much has changed and how much remains the same. Anyways, it was this interview that inspired me to begin taking classes for multimedia arts and finally starting to follow my own true passions. I wasn't sure where to begin, but since then and currently right now, I've been taking and currently finishing classes that are required for me to get the ASD in media, film, and television. I have hopes of finally transferring into a major that's meant for me. Now, I know that this media essay became a lot about me, but the point is that once arts were defunded and core subjects became a priority, I distanced myself from the idea and knowledge of being able to major in something that I personally am passionate about: the arts. To end this on a positive note, though, there is hope for future generations. Like I previously mentioned, I attended schools in Hayward for a majority of my time in school, and in November of 2014, which was my freshman year, Hayward passed Measure L, providing $229 million for district improvements, including the design and construction of new STEAM buildings on each high school campus: Hayward High School, Tennyson High School, and Mount Eden. Now, STEAM is an acronym for science, tech, engineering, art, and math, and it supports an interdisciplinary project-based curriculum, which these new buildings will house. The construction year was the year I graduated, 2018, so I definitely wish the best to all of the students who will have a very important, well-deserved, and much-needed involvement of arts in their education.